An NBA insider just dropped a bombshell Spurs trade report as one of the players that has been on Spurs fans' minds for ages in Trey Murphy III has officially been linked to the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio has been eyeing his services. We have to break down Jake Fisher's recent report, Trey Murphy's game, what he brings to the table, and how he is such a perfect fit for San Antonio that it's almost unbelievable. And we even have the Pelicans asking price for him. All of that coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. And why waste time? We're getting straight into it. NBA Central, the Warriors and Spurs are showing interest in Trey Murphy III. Now, if you're not familiar with Trey Murphy III, well, let me just show you. Trey Murphy III, 6'8" small forward, playing for the New Orleans Pelicans, 21 points per game last season, 5 boards, 3.5 assists, and the field goal and 3-point percentage, while on the surface doesn't seem that amazing necessarily, 45.4 and 36.1, his career numbers are actually better. I think I have those here somewhere. There they are. Last year, 15 points per game. The year before, 15 points per game. His 3-point percentage in those seasons, 38% on 8 attempts a game, 41% on 6.5 attempts a game, and really not that different of a role. He just really stepped up his scoring this past season. Yeah, he's missed some games here or there, but this is a huge report because Trey Murphy is one of these guys that fits the San Antonio Spurs super well, and let's break down the actual report here from Jake Fisher. He said sources say that the Warriors have a strong affinity for Murphy and have made outreach to New Orleans as recently as this summer. Yet sources say that the Pelicans, to be clear, have batted away calls for the 25-year-old, valuing him highly. The two-way forward will be playing on a contract in 25-26 at precisely $25 million, which, by the way, is an incredible steal of a contract for Trey Murphy, as desirable as his talent. Yeah, obviously. Another team known to have registered trade interest in Murphy is San Antonio. Now, San Antonio has been linked to a few different guys. We've heard the Giannis stuff. We obviously heard the KD stuff. And part of me, maybe the cynical side of me, and it's not just me, I've seen other people kind of mirror this, is like, I start to think, what if the Spurs are just being used here as leverage? Because Trey Murphy is one of these guys that we have talked about on the channel a lot. In yesterday's live stream on Thursday, August 21st, myself and Kino went into detail about Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, both of them on New Orleans. If, hey, they're ever willing to part with either of them, would be absolutely perfect fits. Where do I have it? Perfect fits for this starting lineup. Perfect fits for this team. A 3&D small forward who is capable of scoring 20 points per game is the exact thing that you need alongside these other guys, not to mention he's at a bargain of a deal at $25 million. And, the question then becomes, what are the odds that New Orleans trades him? Well, that's where we hit a bit of a snag. Now, Trey Murphy, again, like we said, he's very young. If I just bring up his stats again, he's 25 years old, just turned 25 on a very valuable contract. The question is, what is New Orleans doing? I mean, look, I don't know what they're doing. I think they maybe think they know what they're doing. I'm not going to judge their franchise, but I'm just saying, like, if they could get a lot of futures for Trey Murphy, that could maybe swing the deal. And some other reports here kind of talk about the asking price. According to Brett Siegel, the asking price is multiple first-round picks and proven young talent, and he is unlikely to be traded. Unlikely doesn't mean impossible, though. And this is the kind of guy, look, we've seen San Antonio take swings for the guys that they really want. We saw it in De'Aaron Fox. Now, luckily, in that case, of course, De'Aaron Fox and his camp, like, they wanted to come to San Antonio, so we didn't have to give up that many super amazing assets, I suppose. But in this case for the Pelicans, like, yeah, you don't know what Trey Murphy wants either, but if you see exactly what Brett Siegel had to say, they've maintained an exceptionally high asking price for Murphy, multiple first and proven young talent, as they should for a player of his caliber. I'm just saying, to relate back to what I just said about Fox, the Spurs, if they see the right fit for the team, they are in the perfect position to strike and give up a lot for that player. Now, when it comes to this asking price, right, proven young talent and multiple first-round picks, the Spurs are in a position where we can do that. We have good draft pick assets, though it's not like we have multiple picks and multiple first-round picks in a bunch of years. But again, with a team that's looking to be good, we have some good assets. We have Atlanta's first-round pick. Could be, we'll just have a swap this year, straight up first-round pick next year, have the swap rights with the Mavericks in 2030. We have first-round picks that could be very tempting. And when you get a guy on a bargain deal like Trey Murphy that fills a role, it's the kind of guy you start questioning, hey, who can we give up to bring him in? Again, 21 points, had multiple 40-point games this past year, averaged 3 made threes per game. And so that has me thinking, let's take a look at the Spurs payroll. And the guy that immediately jumps out to myself and probably you guys, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, depending what you see, is Devin Vassell. And Devin Vassell is one of these guys. He is more of a two guard than he is a small forward, though in today's NBA that those lines are a lot more blurred than they ever have been. But a guy like Trey Murphy is much more of a small forward than anything else. So Trey Murphy fits that position for the San Antonio Spurs better. I personally believe that Trey Murphy is more valuable than Devin Vassell at this given moment, simply because Trey Murphy's defense, as of right now, is better than Vassell's. Again, we know Vassell has good defensive upside. I don't think there's any question there, but we haven't really seen him get to that level that we wanted to see from him when we drafted him and when we signed him to this extension. So at the given moment, Trey Murphy versus Devin Vassell, Vassell fills a little bit of a need for New Orleans. I mean, I would say in terms of on-ball scoring and overall, scoring ability, volume scoring, whereas Trey Murphy brings that kind of 3&D aspect. And in this trade, I would imagine that Devin Vassell for Trey Murphy would never be a 1-for-1. You would have to add some picks along with it. Or, on the other hand, another guy we brought up in the stream yesterday is Keldon Johnson. And whether New Orleans would accept Keldon Johnson in this kind of deal, you have to wonder. He is young. He has a 20-point season under his belt, 20-point per game season. He is 25 years old. Keldon Johnson is a proven player, and so getting a few firsts with a guy like Keldon, given that time and space there in New Orleans, you're basically downgrading Trey Murphy for a guy in Keldon Johnson that can still score, not as good defensively, not quite as good a shooter, but you're getting a few firsts with it. That could also make sense. And the salaries, they kind of work as well. You would have to do something else with it because Murphy is making $7.5 million more. But I'm just saying the options are absolutely there when you're talking about who the Spurs could give up. Vassell or Keldon, like, they both fit the bill, and I think that bringing in Trey Murphy over those guys makes a ton of sense. The question is, how many firsts? Like, how far would the Pelicans want to push that trade package if San Antonio was willing to do it, right? And there is a point where you have to imagine Brian Red, RC Buford, our whole front office pop, they're like, that's too many picks to get an upgrade from, say, Devin Vassell to Trey Murphy. How many firsts would you give up to upgrade Devin Vassell to Trey Murphy? I think it's an upgrade. Maybe you guys don't think it's an upgrade. I still like Devin Vassell a lot. Let me make that clear. I am a huge fan of Devin Vassell. I think he's going to have a big bounce back year, and I think people are going to be surprised by what he puts up this year if he stays in San Antonio or wherever he ends up. But I just think Trey Murphy overall has that little edge, especially defensively. There is a bit of a caveat, though. I don't know if I'd say caveat, but there's an interesting part of Trey Murphy that I want to point out. And, the health is one thing. He's missed a number of games in each of the last couple of years, and the best ability is availability. But hey, Devin Vassell's missed some time too, and Keldon Johnson, well, it's not so much missed time as much as his game has declined a bit. There is an interesting thing with Trey Murphy. Now, being on a Pelicans team that struggled kind of makes these stats look a little worse than I think they normally would be. But in wins, hey, offensive and defensive rating is great. But I want to bring your eyes to the right side of this, the effective field goal percentage and the true shooting percentage, the marks of efficiency for a player. Trey Murphy is way more efficient in losses than he is in wins, and I find that very interesting. So when he gets a ton more shots, not even like gets a ton more shots, but when he is like missing a lot of his shots, the team tends to win. And when he's making a lot of his shots, the team tends to lose. You could extrapolate a few different conclusions from that. I'm not really in a position to say, well, this means that if Trey Murphy has the ball in his hands a lot and he's scoring efficiently, that means that means the team's going to lose. You could go both ways, right? Maybe if the team is already losing, you give Trey Murphy the ball a little more often in offensive sets, give him more open looks. I don't know. There's a bunch of different conclusions you can take from this. Better assist to turnover ratio and wins, of course, better assist ratio, better rebounding percentage overall, better turnover ratio. It's just he's less efficient in wins. I do find that a little bit weird. And you notice like the defensive rating takes a big hit in losses, but I think that's more the Pelicans system than anything. So, it's not all perfect for Trey Murphy, but I think those stats do get skewed a little bit when you're in a place like New Orleans who, they just don't really have a team that's working that well. But hey, he's a super athletic guy. Don't forget, he was in a dunk contest once, and this dunk against the Rockets is crazy. He can hit some threes. He's a perfect fit for the San Antonio Spurs, and being linked to him is actually pretty crazy. And I got to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think about Trey Murphy III being linked to the San Antonio Spurs in trade reports? Because like, you've seen it. If you've been watching the channel, you know he is a guy that I myself, and even Keenan and Brian, we've handpicked as the perfect fit for the San Antonio Spurs. So it's no surprise to us that San Antonio's been prodding. It's just a matter of whether New Orleans is willing to make that deal. But let us know your thoughts, because that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. And hey, if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. We're pushing 10,000 subs. You guys made it 10 minutes into this video. Hope we earned your sub by this point. Thank you for tuning in every single day all off season long. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.